so many Love is Blind seasons. I think we've had at least 2 now, where these couples like, oh, what are we gonna do for birth control? I don't want to take the pill. You don't want to use condoms, so what are we gonna do? We don't want to run the risk of pulling out. Well, you could be using. It's Ajene from Life with Ajene. I'm coming to you with a video today for the mommies, and specifically I want to talk about postpartum birth control. A little bit of context. For me, I'm a mom of 2, and I had natural home births for both, water births. I believe in letting the body do what it is made to do, and allowing your body, knowing that your body can handle birth, and being as natural as possible in that process. And when it comes to contraceptives, I have a similar, yet not fully the same philosophy, but I know that I also believe in breastfeeding. And for those of you who have experience with breastfeeding or have been looking into that, doing research on it, you know that for breastfeeding, hormonal birth control, the pill, the implant, anything with hormones, that can impact your breast milk supply. So that's not working. So it's not only good to not have your hormones tampered with just by means of letting those things level out on their own, but again, also in terms of that breast milk supply journey, is not negatively impacting you and harming your ability to be able to produce milk for your child, which in this day and age, with all this stuff going on and around these illnesses, it's really great if you can actually get that breastfeeding journey going. So, birth control. Just with my own journey, I wasn't gonna be taking any pills. Pills have been the most effective form of birth control for me. Back in the day, when I was like early in college, I actually had the Mirena, which is one of those IUDs. But baby, it was the worst decision of birth control I've ever placed in my body, on my body, near my body. It was the absolute worst for me. That's not to say that it can't be successful for other people. There are other types of IUDs too, but for me it was horrible. And why was it horrible? Well, it was tearing me up inside. So I got the IUD because I used to have really horrible periods. I mean, they were just so bad that I would throw up at times. I'd be incapacitated for like a full day. I would be rolling around, crawling around on the floor, trying to just find the right positioning. The pain was paining. So I went to the doctor. I was like, how can you help? And Mirena, the IUD, was an option. And I was like, okay, great. The pill was presented to me first, and I was taking that. But I was like, I want something that I don't have to worry about taking every day at the same time to get its full effect. And that'll last me for years, and I don't have to worry about it. Like, it's just there. When I got Mirena installed, that should have been my first red flag. After they installed it, so it's supposed to be like a really easy pop-it-in procedure, maybe a little bit painful, then you go. I was sitting in the doctor's office for over an hour in pain, cringing, because it hurt so bad to be put inside of my body. It was like that, like I had like a cramp attack. I was determined to just like stick it through, and I was like, well, maybe this is just my body being sensitive at the moment, but it'll work out for me, because it actually calmed down after about an hour or 2, sitting in the room, squirming in pain. So pain got under control, and then the first few periods, like, I was like, okay, I think it's lightening up. My periods did get shorter, generally by a couple days, but over time, after the first few months of having the IUD in, things were just getting progressively worse. Like, the pain that would come was getting worse, and it was getting more frequent than when I had nothing in my body. So I was having more cramp attacks on a more frequent basis, and the bleeding started off getting better in less days, but then it started getting heavier and more dramatic. So I was like, the things that I got this thing for, the bleeding, the pain, the shorter period, like none of that was working for me. And then on top of that, my final straw, because I was like, oh, I might still stick it out. My final straw was the fact that I got my first yeast infection, and I kept getting them back to back to back. Like, it was nonstop. So I was like, take this thing out of me, because I think the yeast infections are probably coming from this IUD. I went to the doctor. The doctor was like,
this shouldn't cause yeast infections.
I was like, I don't care what we're talking about right now. Take it out. Take it out of my body. I don't want it anymore. Just put me back on the pill. I'll figure it out. I'll take it at the same time every day for it to be most effective. I do not care. Take this out of my body. And after they took it out of my body, yeast infections cleared up. I've never had a yeast infection ever again. So regardless of what you're saying about what it was supposed to do, wasn't supposed to do, my body said otherwise. It was getting them, girl. It was horrible. So after that, I'm never getting an IUD again. I'm not putting another one of those in my body, especially for years at a time. It's just not for me. That's not my journey, not my ministry. Yeah, I just don't want anything invasive. I don't want anything that is messing with my hormones. So ultimately, what am I left with? I'm left with condoms. Trying to schedule things and figure out my ovulation cycle and do things a natural planning way, and then use protection when I have more fertile window situation going on. And at the time, I thought that was it. And the tracking method, that doesn't work until you have your first period. So what was frustrating for me about that was like, okay, I'll learn this tracking thing, I'll figure it out. And I was searching high and low for a way to be able to track my cycle and my ovulation and all that without having had a period, because after you give birth, if you're breastfeeding, it can hold off on your period. I looked high and low, there's no way to actually do that. So with my first pregnancy, after I gave birth, I looked up the fact that you could do, let me look at this method. The LAM method, here we go. The LAM method, and I'll post a link to this from Planned Parenthood below in case you want to look more into that. But it's LAM, L-A-M, it stands for Lactational Amenorrhea Method. Lactational refers to breastfeeding. Amenorrhea means not having your period. When you exclusively breastfeed, which I was, meaning you nurse at least every 4 hours during the day and every 6 hours at night, and feed your baby only breast milk, your body naturally stops ovulating. You can't get pregnant if you don't ovulate. No ovulation means you won't have your period either. That's why breastfeeding as birth control is also called lactational amenorrhea method. When you do it perfectly, the LAM birth control method can be about as effective as hormonal contraceptives, like the pill. About 2 out of 100 people who use breastfeeding as birth control get pregnant in the 6 months it can be used after a baby's born. Breastfeeding won't prevent pregnancy if you feed your baby anything other than breast milk. So if you breastfeed but also use formula, LAM isn't a great birth control method for you. It doesn't work if you use a breast pump. You need to nurse your baby if you want your breastfeeding to prevent pregnancy. I'll stop there. So in my case, I was exclusively breastfeeding. Pumping was not my ministry either. Like the pieces and the washing and the attaching and detaching, and I couldn't get with it. I couldn't get with it. So with my first pregnancy, I actually relied on the LAM method, and I didn't have my period until I was like 7 months postpartum. I relied on that, I think, until I got my first period, which I was being silly. I was risking my life, low-key, that last month, because again, it was only for the first 6 months. I don't remember why, listen, God was looking out for you, girl. He was looking out for me because I did not get pregnant. But yeah, it's only effective for the first 6 months. Exclusive breastfeeding, frequent schedule through the day and the night. Okay, so second pregnancy, I had my daughter. I joined a group, people were talking about birth control methods, and I brought up breastfeeding can be an effective method, and I posted this link to this article actually from Planned Parenthood. And people were like, you can't rely on that. You might ovulate and you would never know. Because there's no indication of doing that. Like, so you could ovulate and get pregnant from, things happening you wouldn't know, and then you just end up pregnant. So you can't like effectively rely on that. So then I was like, what? And I looked it up more, and I was like, ooh, they're right. And I'm sure that I want this to be my last baby. Yeah, so what am I gonna do? So what I did was I was like, okay, I have to find something that's like actually reliable. And I found that there was this tool that you can use. It like tracks your like hormones and everything, and it tells you when you're ovulating, like you use it with an app. But the problem with that was you can't use it until you have a period. So I emailed them and everything, and I was like, hey, is there a way you can use this postpartum? This tool is used to actually get pregnant, so it helps you to track when you're ovulating so that you can actually have relations when you're ovulating, but you could also use it, right, for the opposite. You know, when you're ovulating, you stay off. You mind your business, right? Or you protect yourself in an alternate way. So I was like, oh, can you use this when you haven't had a period yet? And they're like, no, girl, no, sis, you need a period. So I couldn't use that. I couldn't use the pills without running the risk of affecting my breast milk supply. I wasn't using any of those other methods. What was I gonna do? I'm not gonna lie, for the first few weeks, because I had no real answer, I actually did just rely on that because I was like, I know at least for those first few weeks, she's gonna be feeding all the time, and I got a little bit extra time to figure this out. I was exhausted. I've been fighting a lot of fights, and I didn't feel like fighting that one anymore. But after the first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, let's get back on this. So I talked to my partner, and we decided condoms. And I've tried the female condom, I've tried the male condom. I have no preference between those two. I think they have similar sensations to them. So got a pack of Trojans, and this one has all these different, like, wait, can you see? Come on now, get in there. This has different types of, you know, ribs and fun styles and all that other stuff. So we were doing condoms, and that was working out okay. Like, it wasn't the best, like, after being together and married so long and doing our thing without that, it was very awkward to go back to, but I was determined not to have a baby, so I was gonna ride that wave. But then I went to my midwife. The beautiful thing was she gave me this pamphlet, and in my pamphlet, it had a birth control method that I had not considered before. It's such an old school method too, but I was like, worth a try, because the condom thing wasn't really working for us in an ideal way. We were doing it, it was great. Sure, but like not really. Bing! This here, this here, this here. Spermicide. So there's two versions. The first version I got in the ad that I got was for a little film. It looks and feels like those Listerine dissolvable strips for your breath. Yeah, the same brand, same vaginal contraceptive. F is for film. You can get those, or you can get this gel. Let me talk about the film first. So with that, you fold it in half or in a quarter, whatever's easiest for you to get it inside, but you insert it through your vaginal canal and push it up high, and that is effective within 15 minutes. And it's effective for up to 3 hours. What it does is just dissolves, and the spermicide coats your stuff. You go do your thing, and boom, you're straight. And like I said, it's effective for 3 hours, so maybe if like going on a date or whatever, like you can put it in, give it 15 minutes to set, and then do what you need to do. Now here's the thing, it's only effective for one male release. I'll say that. So the spermicide, getting rid of the things that it's targeting, only works one time per fill. The same goes for these gel inserts. So if you're, you know, going for multiple rounds, you're gonna have to just insert another after every one of those situations. Okay, now, the gel. This is my preferred method. This is what I'm using now. This is what I've been using since baby's been born. This is doing what it needs to do. This is a lifesaver. So this is same concept, but different insert. So you actually insert this like a tampon. I'm gonna open this because I can use this. Girly, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna use that. So we're gonna give you, based on the picture here, let's see. Okay, so hopefully you can see this pretty well. It looks like a tampon, right? So what you do is, this comes in two pieces. There's the pusher and the thing with the actual spermicide in it. And what you do is you put this in ever so gently, because the least little bit of pressure starts pushing the spermicide through. And you take the cap off, and then you insert it into your vaginal canal, and you push like you would a tampon out of a tampon package actually, and release the gel. Instantly effective, only effective for an hour, but you know, that's your instant get it going, got it good. So I prefer this one. When you're doing your thing, you wanna just go ahead, just pop that in, get it going. I think it's great. It doesn't feel like anything. It's hormone free. And yeah, it's been effective. I'm not pregnant, not even close to pregnant, getting my cycles regularly. It's felt great, and I'm really happy I found this. So that's the reason I wanted to do this video, was to just really share information on this form of birth control. Spermicide. Use spermicide. You can also use the diaphragm with like the traditional spermicide diaphragm combo. Diaphragm is like a shield that you insert. Imagine the ring but with a dome, and you put some spermicide in there to cover. You could do that. I haven't tried that. I'm not gonna try that because I'm really, really, really happy with the gel. So yeah, baby, you don't have to use condoms, you don't have to use pills, you don't have to implant anything, you don't have to mess with your body. You can just use this, and it's as easy as applying a tampon, but even better because it's not stuck. It naturally releases itself. You gotta do no extra work. I think that's beautiful. And the reason I prefer the applicator over the film is just because it's less messy. Like, I'm not putting my hands all in, and sometimes with the film, it can like start to dissolve a little early. So like, you really gotta get your fold down. I have that down because sometimes I use those too. You really gotta get your fold down and push and get it up in there quick, because it'll start dissolving with the heat of your body and your natural fluids. So yeah, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just use something that just does everything for me and I don't have to get my hands messy at all. But yeah, that's a birth control method you can use. And I think it's just really important to go ahead and talk about this more, because from Love is Blind, so many Love is Blind seasons, I think we've had at least 2 now, where these couples like, oh, what are we gonna do for birth control? I don't wanna take the pill. You don't wanna use condoms, so what are we gonna do? We don't wanna run the risk of pulling out. Well, you could be using this. You could be using that. Yeah, there might still be like an ethical issue in some people's minds, because then the woman is still taking on, you know, the weight of the control of the birth, the birth control methods. But at the end of the day, I find this to be really simple, out the way, and I make my partner do some of the burden by going to fetch it if it's not nearby, and then I do the application, and we go, and we're happy. We're happy. We're happy. So yeah, I think it's worth a try. Definitely consult your physician for about any more specific questions, if it's good for you, any concerns you should have. Do that. I'm not a doctor, but I am just speaking to my experience and what's been working for me, so that more people can know that you're not limited to what traditionally people have been talking about. Hopefully this is helping somebody on your journey, and you can try it out and you like it. If you try it out and you like it, let me know. Hit me up in the comments. If you're gonna try it, let me know. If you're like, I don't know about that, but I have this other method that works, let us know that too. Share. We need to share more information as mothers in community with one another and make these journeys easier. So yeah, let me know what birth control method you like, what you've tried, what were your nightmare stories, anything like that in the comments. And yeah, for me, these are winning every time. Good for me, good for partner, good to go. All right, see you later.